Reality. I'm J-Mott.
Gila.
How are you? I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Have had a beautiful day. Um, yeah. And,
Yeah, it was pretty nice. The snow was different, but
yeah, it was pretty heavy today. I got out and got to enjoy some of it with my son.
oh yeah,
We went
I saw
snowboarding.
it.
Yeah, I took him to a little local park that's got a pretty cool hill on it, and he's taken to it like water. So that's really exciting for me.
Nice.
He's stoked about snowboarding.
I saw that post and I wanted to join you, but we had to go to Denver, so.
Oh yeah,
Drive, but-
dude, I bet that drive was brutal.
It was a little slippery.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you made it back down safe. So thanks for joining us again this week, everybody. We're going to be picking up on a few things that we left last week, and then we also wanted to kind of work into the victim mentality. And I know, Gil, I was thinking about this. Like, this is a really touchy subject.
Right, you wanted to crush it. You like
Well,
taking
not,
it on. And
I like taking
do
it on.
Too.
well,
Because that's how you get your power.
exactly.
But yeah, let's see. Let's get into it.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that I wanted to talk about for sure is like there's definitely different degrees of being victimized. Okay, right.
Definitely.
And so some of that is physical trauma, and some of those things. So for issues like that, I would say seek professional help. You know what I mean? But I think the perspective of the victim mentality that we kind of want to talk about is the maybe the self-abuse. We're looking for a reason to be the victim sort of ideas. Like that's what I was hoping that we were going to talk about. Come at me with what your angle on that was, because you wrote some really good ideas.
Our reasoning as to why to play the victim.
Yes, there we go. Why do we allow ourselves to be the victim? You know, or look at for. And I don't mean this in a way where like, because sometimes people are just.
Well, it's all natural. Everything is kind of desensitization.
Okay.
That's the beginning of it all. And then once we kind of are ripped from knowing that the butterfly and the flower are a reflection of yourself.
Okay.
And our parents kind of put on their limitations right onto our shoulders. This is Dharma.
Yeah.
And then eventually we'll desensitize ourselves so much so with everything we're doing, and as a child we don't get attention when we're doing things right. We don't get attention when we're creating and we're quiet. We get attention when we're making a mess and making problems and getting in trouble.
And so we touched on that a little bit last week, and that's kind of what led us to this.
So that really does turn things around, and it makes us create a subconscious program because the servo mechanism's kind of taking a wrong answer for the right answer.
Yeah.
It'll hit the target.
We want the attention, and like you said, we get faster results from doing something that's going to cause drama and cause an immediate response.
So this turns into an addiction to the exterior stimulation because there's a seemingly, because it feels so real that something outside in the exterior world happens, and then I'm forced to feel something.
Yes.
I'm kind of caught up in the addiction to cause and effect. Something is causing me to be affected instead of me causing the effect. And
so you feed because you need something. You need some sort of response to you. You need some sort of attention.
absolutely,
You need,
everything is
you
entertainment.
need somebody to look at you.
When nothing
right?
really truly matters, except for being alive and the ego's threat of the life half lived.
Right. So I need somebody to look at me, and I got to do something to get their attention. And why though?
And it's so fun to entertain. So,
right.
So what we associate how we're entertaining and we're being entertained really turns into an addiction to the exterior stimulation.
So how do we shift that addiction from needing drama to just, like being more positive with it? You see what I'm saying? Like it becomes cyclic is what it is, because as soon as one drama dries up in your life, well, you need something else to fill
How
that
you're
void
focusing
of drama.
on. It's the same as worry. The drama would be inserted there. As you worry about anything, you're worrying just because you like to worry, and your worries create more worries, and that all turns into just problematic thinking.
It feeds into a lot of negative neural language. I mean, you're saying stuff in your head that, you know, is just negative to yourself at that point. So you need something else to be negative about, maybe. You need, you know, instead of it being in your own head, you need
it's just a habit.
Or to have an excuse for this negativity to be validated inside of you. Like, these are the kind of victim mentalities that, you know, like you're giving up your power. You're giving up your own power.
To naming things with certain
saying,
labels.
And that's what's making me mad, instead of, you know, and that's the thing that's ruining my life, and that's the thing that brought me to this place or whatever.
Instead of taking the responsibility aspect and learning about what control is, because as we worry about, what we worry about is 96%, 93%, somewhere around there, of what we worry about is something out of your control. You are worried about trying to make someone else do something that they did the way they wanted to do or were going to do, and then kind of feel something from that.
Oh, yeah, and then this just feeds into your own narrative in your head as to why isn't so-and-so listening to me because I'm right about this, and then you get into that echo chamber of I'm right, well, I know you're right, you know you're right, and so you start talking to yourself about how right you are and how wrong they are for whatever this is, and it builds this wall between the two of you that neither one of you really know what the other one's pissed off about. It's just now you're just pissed off with each other because you're pissed off.
The worry and control, because you're really just kind of constantly giving up all your control into worry. So now with the 8% of things that you do have control over, any trigger that is associated with that massive invasion, something's attacking you, will create you to act irrationally with that 8% that you actually can control.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Right, so like all of that stuff over there that I'm worried about, I know I can come back to this little pocket of my world, and like these are the things that I know I have control of, so this is where I find comfort, but then you also turn those into defense mechanisms. You turn them into...
It's all defense mechanisms. Yeah, it's all kind of an abuse of shock, because everything is an exposure to shock that kind of like really, we are the fingertips of consciousness reaching out into the void, trying to find out if that's either hot or cold, sharp, soft, slimy.
Right, yeah.
And
what is that?
Kind of figuring it out, and then
curiosity.
Going back into it, because you did get cut, you did get burned, but you're never going to learn if you don't keep kind of reaching out.
Well,
exposing more, experiencing more.
And so there's some deep-seated psychology behind a lot of these cyclic patterns that people fall into, though.
And they all play out, yeah.
And they all seem to play out the same way, which is kind of scary too. I mean, like we could take someone who always picks an abusive partner, or always picks somebody that has this one negative trait, and like I keep finding all of these people, but they all have this one negative trait about them, or something that is a common thread between
a denial of your self-image that you're inevitably going to find because of a couple of things. You're either washing your ego clean, or that's part of your ego that you're in denial of, that you will not accept, that is a way that you do see yourself, but it's as disgusting as it gets, and the subconscious is only trying to get you to look at it in a different way and kind of accept yourself, learn, and stop hurting yourself and others with those decisions.
Right. Yeah. Like.
And then what with the you're either all exterior stimulation or the one that drives the train of thought.
Okay.
A train of thought. A chain of thought will become a train of thought until acted upon by a thought from the other side that snaps that chain of thought. You focus on it and it will derail.
Yeah. The one little thing that challenges your resolve, and if it's just a big enough kernel, it keeps building.
And I like
now
to
my whole life's falling apart.
to be on the to remember on the other side, because it happens on both ends. When you're looking at the goal and you're going for the gusto, any negativity snaps you out of, and you're into you're destroying yourself. But I like to be on the bridge, so when we're destroying ourselves with that chain of thought and you've opened Pandora's box and everything is against you and no one is there, the lone wolf mentality is all you embrace, and it's me against the world. Yep. This is the victim mentality.
Yeah, it is.
You're really gonna only retreat into a cave, a mental cave of attack, of assumed attack, that Ladrillo has to offer. All of our bricks build those walls.
So yeah, we back ourselves up into like you said, your cave of comfort, your corner. I know I've got control over these things, and then anybody who tries to come into that it's just an attack on.
Even in your mind, they don't even have to come into your experience.
They don't.
You're thinking of another person who did the same thing in a different way. Another person, and then eventually,
they're just like everybody else.
A positive thought comes, and you hold on to it, and you snap that negative chain, and derail that negative train, and get out of it, and wake up to another wonderful day.
Absolutely. Yes. It's about breaking the chain of negativity. And sometimes that chain can get pretty heavy, man. Some people right? Yes. But sometimes breaking those chains can be pretty heavy for some people. And then just trying to show somebody that they're weighed down with this stuff sometimes can feel like an attack on them. You know, like I've tried to help friends who were in dark places before.
And your ego's kind of been through it, and you see it, and you're always testing yourself in the mirror as well as they're testing themselves. So when you're really coming up against someone else's brick walls, you
don't
really
understand what I've been through, man. How can you tell me to
like needing to feed off of the chemical response that they're getting from the combatant that you are providing, the antagonistic side that they are putting onto you, the label of...
They want to feel like somebody's trying to save them. They don't want to actually be saved, but they like the feeling that someone's trying to save them.
And I want to feel like you can't save me.
Yeah. Okay. And that's kind of scary.
All the chemicals that come with it. It is like a dog. Let's move on into the same gig. We're all suffering from an addiction to forms of friction. Your dog hops on your lap and it wants you to scratch it behind the ears.
But you want to scratch it behind the ears too.
And it feels great on levels of these frictions, right? And friction always feels good. Even if it's funny to understand that you're only mad because you want to be mad.
Yeah.
And it feels what it feels like. You're accessing the chemicals that you're accessing, and then they're lasting as long as you want them to last.
Well, those are easier chemical hits to get sometimes than happiness, because we put
them to step through into true happiness.
You cast so much doubt on the thing in front of you that is going to make you happy, that you're still getting all of that, those feelings that you want, but they're on the wrong side. They're on the wrong side, right? You want some feelings, you want to be happy, but you have all this self-doubt about, though, I'm not good enough for that, or when you get there,
like
you doubt it, or Yeah.
Just absolutely stuck. The Hindu like to refer to this and the rapture, the stepping into the light, heaven on earth, and all this as the end of suffering. And every negative thought, every limited belief that you feed that black and dark wolf, there's two wolves inside, that shadow realm, that's suffering. You're feeding off of suffering. As soon as you end your own suffering, you're really going to expand and like, that's so funny for domestic violence. I'm like, domestic violence, to the moon, us, to the moon.
Right.
And that's such a play on that domestic violence. But you will just, the sky's the limit. You are limitless.
Really, we're
field.
fifth dimensional beings piloting a meat suit. I love that, man. Like, there's nothing out there that you can't reach out and touch. You just have to really believe that you've got the power to reach out and touch it, and feed the good wolf. Yeah, there are two wolves in there, and one of them's way hungrier than the other one. And it's the light wolf that's starving in a lot of us. That's the one that we're not feeding. Right. That's the one that we're not taking the time to appreciate.
And that's the one that feeds you.
It is. That's the one that makes you feel good.
That's when you're going to be going through things like fasting and stuff. You're feeding on thought alone.
That dark wolf feeds off of you. That is the one that's feeding off of your...
I would go even farther and say, in a realm of thought and thought alone, what makes food any different?
What do you mean?
As you name your food junk food,
okay,
you're programming it. Why do you think we would supposed to pray over our meal? To program it.
To be, yeah. Because, well, I mean, did you ever see that the experiment that was going around on the internet where the guy just thanked a glass of water and you could see
absolutely.
it change?
This is from
this is neat.
This is from Japanese scientist. I forget his name, but it is on What the Bleep Do We Know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he does have a take-home experiment with 3 containers of rice.
Okay.
Cook enough rice to have 3 containers to save for the duration. And they're the same. You pick up the first one and tell it, I love you. You pick up the second one and tell it, I hate you. And you feel these emotions. And then you don't do anything to the third.
Okay.
Wait about a month, and the one you didn't do anything to, is kind of starting to mold a little bit. The one you said, I hate you, is full on molded.
Yeah.
And the one that you told and felt love for is like you put it away last night.
Yeah, that'd be neat to check out.
Absolutely.
I'd run that experiment and see, because I believe that the energies that you put out from yourself are reflected back into the things that you put them into. So I mean, put out good vibes, man, and put out good intentions, and do it from a wholesome, genuine place. You know what I mean? And be appreciative of the small little things that do make you smile, like. I mean,
embrace it.
Really pull it into yourself.
Into that.
And
really enter
it.
Enter into that.
And
let it encapsulate you.
And I think a lot of the contest here is that it's easier to just stay mad, man.
It's simple.
It's
a habit.
You invest all of this emotion into being upset and mad, but you don't realize that you're investing it because it feels effortless. But trying to feel happy, that feels like an effort. You know what I mean? Instead of just letting yourself feel that emotion and then being mad is the effort. I don't like being mad.
That habit. Everything, we're creatures of habits. We are Pavloved out.
Yeah, right.
We really are.
The bell rings and our mouth waters, but
And then we are an animal. We are always meditation. The literal meaning of the word meditation is to become familiar with. So while you are just awake, your dexterity, nothing but becoming familiar with. Everything that we do is meditation on its own levels. We're all deep practitioners, as well as deep practitioners of astral projection. We are projecting here into this diamond that you are, to then share this experience and bring to the table what you have found in the creative realm of nothingness, where you ran your own solar system out and played the billiard game of stellar pool. Interesting.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah.
And then there's steps to get back there. Even right now, speaking is manifestation. It started with your own void of nothing manifested from thought into another step of manifestation into spoken word.
And then the only reason it makes sense to me at all is because we got this agreement that these are the types of emotions and
right
ideas
words
that we're trying
that go in concite and kind of trigger these other things and are associated with.
But things get so lost on words. Words are really important to me,
We're all
right?
lost in translation.
Words are really important to me. I like to write a lot. I like to read stuff and try to find what the different imagery, perspective, and things like that in them are. Words are really important to me, but I think a lot is lost in words.
Triggers. We're always triggered, and why not get triggered into flow?
Yeah, why not? Get triggered into something that makes you productive and positive.
Absolutely. Start controlling those associations and those triggers and do positive things with them.
Nice. I like that. I like the change of pace tonight, Gilla. This is a little bit different. You've got the laptop instead of me. This is all right. I hope it's working for you guys out there. We're just trying to find the flow, trying to think
and just feel it out and have fun with it too, because you've got to enjoy everything. If you're not enjoying it, it's time to set it down. This is a trigger that your dopamine reserve has run a little low, and it's time to just take a break.
Yeah,
come back to it, and you're gonna love it again.
It's the old adage of if you love it, let it go. If it comes back to you, just don't touch it too much. Just like don't play with it too much.
Words really come back and find you with more layered meanings as you just see it through different perspectives, through different filters.
Yeah.
And then learn that you have control of that kaleidoscope.
And don't let the feeling. So this is something that I've struggled with. Is sometimes maybe your dopamine reserve is a little bit bigger than mine. And the other party, the other persons, the other people involved, they may become exhausted a little bit quicker than you are. And that's okay, because we've all got our different limits. And so being mad at that person for reaching their limit and you haven't reached your limit yet doesn't solve anything. And then this just takes us back into the cycle of kind of that victimhood mentality of, well, they just put me off. They just quit talking to me. They don't have time for me or something like that. And I mean, unless they're really an asshole and you don't need to be associated with them, which is different. Right.
Misery loves company.
But right. But still, you get, and then you see each other some time later and you're like, well, you just quit talking. But you were taking
some grudges and things.
Yeah, for real. But you don't think about
that's being thrown.
The energy you were taking from that person.
Finding some way to get and create complications to get those chemical responses of being upset.
There's got to be something broken in this. So why isn't it
just being thrown?
You got to find. It's like so. My Uncle Mac. One time I was a kid, man. I was a little kid. I was probably 6 years old, and I remember this guy saying it to me. I was riding my 3-wheeler, and I rode back around, and I was like, Uncle Mac, my 3-wheeler's making a funny noise. And so he listened to it, and he's like, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. And so I take off riding again, and then I come back later, it's making a noise. And he says, son, if you dig deep enough for a booger, you're guaranteed to find one. Right?
How cool.
Right. And that stuck with me from the time I was 6 or 7 years old of like, and at the time I'm like, digging for boogers, that's funny, Uncle Mac, right? But if you dig for the negative nugget in something long enough, if you dig for the booger long enough, you're going to find it, instead of just letting the other things that are great about the situation prevail. And you can't You can't overlook the things that are in there that need to be fixed. That's fine, but you can't
That just
find the
reminds me and
You know what I
just
mean?
like etches Coach Wooten's dad. And Coach Wooten coached Michael Jordan, all the greats.
Okay.
When he was growing
I don't
up,
sport ball a lot.
when he was growing up, his dad had something to say that stuck with him, and he said, "Don't ever try and be better than anyone else." But he didn't stop there.
Okay.
Never stop being better than yourself.
Okay.
And that's just kind of a gist. I haven't
Paraphrase.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I see your point. Like it's pointless to try to be better than someone else. Just be the best you.
When we hear that,
right?
Like, you don't ever need to be better than anybody else.
And then that also
to go
breeds
that distance and never stop bettering yourself.
Exactly, and not putting yourself up against what you think another great person is either. And that is like
we're all great.
Right.
Throwing yourself in that idea of
I'm never going to be as good as them.
Of judging yourself up against anyone else's accolades or achievements.
Right.
Is beating a dead horse. Is
casting doubt on yourself. Right.
Right.
Can't do that.
Is actually following the pack mentality and not being an individual.
So, so you've talked about the pack mentality and the lone wolf mentality a couple of different times as we've talked. And it seems like there's a dichotomy there because there's a certain degree of it where you have to, have your own lone wolf, like, kind of guard about yourself. But at the same time, you can't cut yourself off and use that as a wall. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to be your own individual.
We're all on our
we all know
depths
that.
of that path, and you've got to come off the beaten path to find the way back, and you're never on the wrong path.
That's deep. Right, but
even
you
with
gotta
the
stand
ego,
your own.
even
like
with
you gotta
stand alone sometimes in some ways, but you definitely need to come to terms with self-abuse.
Yeah. Why are you?
Why and how and when and what for?
Yeah. For what reason am I standing over here by myself? Is it because I'm trying to find myself, or is it because I think everybody else has put me over here? You know what I mean? Why? Mm-hmm. Why am I standing?
The duality of alone.
Yeah.
We hate to be alone. And we love to be alone.
Need to be alone sometimes.
And then when we need to, we often grab the other side of the other coin and hate to need to be alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
These cycles, these
programs.
I love hating this. I hate loving this. You're like
all a habitual habit formed from that thought on top that keeps on running. That mental chatter that won't shut up all day long.
Yeah.
Pretty much it just keeps going. And my courses and my book can help with that. But personal coaching really does get you through it because it takes a lot of getting through your own personal stuff.
It really does. And it takes a lot of commitment to like yourself. Like I want to improve myself. I really want to. And
you can.
Absolutely, but don't do it as a way to show somebody up. Like
because that
throws
a tinge on that intention.
Right. No,
there's
it for you.
With manifestation, that starts to manifest with chaos.
Yeah.
Our clear intention added to our elevated emotion turns into, yes, I want that, but I don't deserve it, or.
Right. Okay.
self-destructing the whole process.
Well, and then also trying to achieve something just because you think you're better than someone, or you can do it better than someone, or something. Like there's a
and then holding on to spite because no one saw
spite, right? Yeah. So there's a certain level of motivation in there. Like, oh, no, I can do this better than that, and that's fine. But don't do it out of spite. Right. Don't do it out of
That gets back to manifestation.
Don't one-up somebody
one of
just
the
because
mornings there, I woke up and
you're mad.
Tasted bitterness and physically started programming my spit and got rid of it.
Okay.
I was at a level of experience. So, like, your spiritual awakening or personal growth is like martial arts. There's different levels, and if you're vibrating at this level, then these tools don't work. And then you're vibrating at this level, you're holding yourself back by thinking this way.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of alignment that needs to go on.
Yeah, right. I took Taekwondo as a kid.
Oh,
right.
Cool.
Yeah, it was fun. I did it for a few years. It was fun. It was a family thing. And then one day our instructor, we were talking about, like, you know, what do you think is like the most advanced move in Taekwondo? And you got a bunch of 13-year-olds and 15-year-olds in the room, and we're talking about all these crazy, yeah, like all this crazy stuff. And he goes, no, like there's none. It's all about your focus, is what he said. It's all punches and kicks, right? And maybe one of them spins or something like that, but it's all punches and kicks. It's all about your focus. It's all about like your intention with it, and why, and the mechanics you understand behind it. Like, what's your focus?
And how you train how to be observant.
Right.
What you are aware of.
Mm-hmm.
We might have some commercials coming up.
Dude, we got to run some ads, I think. That's what we're going to do. Thanks for hanging out with us so far this evening. If you guys have got any questions, comments, or something that you want to throw in there about something we've touched on this evening, shoot us a message during the quick ad break here. We'd love to talk to you about these things. Hope you're having a wonderful evening, and we'll be back in just a few, guys. Oh, I got another little quote that I want to throw out there that'll kind of bring us back into the next.
We're back.
Hey, welcome back. I hope that wasn't too long. No, come down to Twisted Apes. Lots of great events going on.
It's great.
The karaoke contest, the motorcycle raffle, good food, good music, bands
Great
playing
people.
all the time.
It's awesome.
Yeah, pretty fun place to hang out. So come by Twisted Apes in Colorado Springs and come see these dudes. So yeah, we've been talking about like those negative trains of thought that bring us into, like, with the title that we opened with was the victim mentality, but it's
creating your own future or lost in the past as we dream of the future.
I like that. That's really good. And it's all just beating yourself up for no damn reason. You're perfect just the way you are. You just got to embrace how perfect you are and get rid of these vices that just give you bad feelings and bad thoughts. It's easy to purge these things from yourself.
Come to terms with them, because you don't really ever get to get rid of them. You just don't focus them. You just don't feed them. You just don't fall victim to them.
There we go. I like that. That's a really good angle, Gilla. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, and we were talking about before we took off for the ads. We were talking about focusing on a goal and going for it, and
focus
just
means everything.
Having that positive self-belief that you're worth this thing that you're working for, and it's something that you can get. So and tonight's discussion brings up a lot of like little quotes and snippets and stuff for me, apparently. And one of those is, you ever watch the show Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe?
Absolutely.
Right, that guy's fun.
Puts up with the grime of life and shows you and takes it into his hands. He doesn't need to. He's got his own bills paid with what he does, but he's showing us you can do this too.
Right.
This is what we do.
It's not that hard.
This is what people do. This is what we do. We put up with this stuff.
Yeah.
And do it.
And these guys are...
it makes the world turn.
It has to.
You make the world turn.
If it wasn't for these people doing these dirty jobs, then we wouldn't be able to sit here in this studio right now and do this. So
off of the shoulders of giants.
There we go, off of the shoulders of giants. Those guys make the world tick, whether you understand it or not. If the garbage guy didn't come by every Thursday, your place would start to stink pretty fast, or you'd have to figure it out on yourself. These guys make the world go round in a lot of unappreciated ways. But the quote that I was going to get to from Mike Rowe, we were talking about focus and talking about achieving goals and stuff like that. And so this particular episode, he's in a meat factory and they're cleaving meat off of a bone. And this gentleman is standing there with the knife and the bone and he's whacking the thing and all the meat's flying off of it and it looks buttery and smooth the way he's doing it, right? He's like so clean at his job. And then he hands the knife and the leg to Mike Rowe there and he starts trying to do it. The knife keeps getting stuck. And he's fighting with it and stuff. The guy takes it back, and he's just same knife and same leg, and he's just cleaning it off. Mike Rowe says, "Oh, I get it. It's not about how hard you hit it. It's about how you hit it hard." And those two little sentences right there, it's not about how hard you hit it, it's about how you hit it hard, can apply to everything in your life. There's, you can go headstrong at something, as hard as you want to, but if you don't have focus and clarity and know how to hit it hard, you're just going to break your knuckles over it. You're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to beat your head against this wall instead of taking the time to learn the focus and learn the clarity and work towards being able to do it, taking the baby steps to get there, and they suck and they're not as rewarding. The baby steps are the grind, but once you learn to appreciate those little baby steps as you go, then you learn how to hit it hard the right way. It's focus, it's purpose, it's understanding the mechanics behind what you're doing. And I think all of those are things that I get lost on because I watch a YouTube video of somebody fixing something around the house or something like that, and I'm like, man, I can do that. And then 2 hours later, I'm calling a professional. I'm calling Eric, like, hey, man, can you come fix this thing because I thought I could do it. I didn't understand the focus. I didn't take the time to appreciate the craft that it takes to get there.
This story of Mark and Dea.
Okay.
I believe. We'll get into that another time, or maybe I'll throw a link up.
Okay.
So
story of who?
Don't. Mark and Dea.
Mark and Dea. Okay.
There's a lot that goes on in this story where he gets the suggestion to find oneness, the purpose, to find reason. And he's sent to a butcher. The dirtiest job that there is.
Okay.
In the whole area, right? And the precision
it's a craft.
The sharpness and when and where and how little the butcher had to sharpen the blade.
There's an art to everything, right? My granddad showed me this one day in the shop with a square point shovel, and he scooped a bunch of stuff up off the ground. And the way he did it was just click and clean and sweet. And he looked at me and he said, "Son, there's an art to everything." And he was just scooping some shit up off the ground with a shovel. But I mean, if you really think about it, there's an art to everything. There's an art to success. There's an art to technique. There's an art to craft. There's an art to trade. But there's also an art to beating yourself up. There's also an art to bringing yourself down. There are arts to those things. And refocusing that energy that you've put into that art of beating your own ass and learning how to kick something else's ass for your own good is, I think, very important and very tough.
Thought on top. That monkey mind and that mind chatter that is linked into and written by the subconscious of manipulation and intimidation versus conversation, kind of the pack mentality again. I'm louder, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, and if you don't want to let me have my way,
I'm taking it. Right.
We're in the time of rape and take. We're still living in it because that's part of just coming to terms with all of the parameters of life. You are life. There's a lot of disgusting things with life.
Yeah, there are. So, the time of rape and take. We talked about that before, and it sounds really harsh whenever you say it out loud. But if you think about what it is, I mean, it's the animal inside of all of us that whenever we were
addicted to consumption.
We were primitive animals, it was either we
Right.
take it or we get it, or we rape it away from something, or we take it away, or it's ours. We're gonna have it, and it's the need to survive is what that talks about. Okay. Well, now all of our need for survival is kind of, in a lot of ways, and there are some less absolutely right. But the need for survival is kind of taken care of for a lot of us, the majority of us, in a lot of ways. We're gonna survive. There's food and water and shelter. Like
right. We're living in constant fear. We're always stressing ourselves because of survival.
Right, but what is the thing?
Self-preservation and selfishness mean the same thing. Anytime you're ever coming up against someone else's subconscious programs that are manipulation, intimidation, that are versus conversation, that's what they're kind of screaming and crying for help. Where was it at?
It's the need to, it was just like we were talking about at the beginning of the show, it's the need for validation for your action. And so I know this is going to get a reaction out of somebody, and is that I know this is going to get a reaction out of somebody, what is the reaction that you want? Do you want a positive reaction out of someone, or do you want the negative reaction out of someone? So, and that's your own focus.
Who are you?
Yeah, what reaction do you want?
You only ever lie to yourself is what it really boils down to. And when you can really read someone crying for help, then you're really like just seeing through those layers with compassion and can actually help.
Yeah.
If not, when has anyone known what to tell you, what to say when you were out of control?
Don't tell me to calm down.
When you lost a loved one. When a major stressor that you already knew was going to happen because you know everything before it happens for a lot of reasons. Those are just tests. You're just asking, the reality is just asking you if you still want things to unfold like this. Do you still want life like this? Because it's fun.
Right.
It's all entertainment.
How do you change your own position? You know what I mean? And that's just taking responsibility for what you can do. Like, taking your power back.
And just looking at everything.
Take the power back.
Seeing everything. The first layer of the self, the first doorway is frustration, is annoyance. That's the one that's going to pull you. Those are the first two steps that like kind of get you out of your natural state.
Okay, but they can also be motivators, because there's a lot of things
absolutely.
that
that's what they're here for.
Annoy the shit out of me. Okay, like
for uncomfort to make you get out of that.
I'm working on. I know I'm not there yet. I know I'm gonna have fun, but I'm working on
it's all
overcoming a new thing that I hate, because I don't have a dishwasher at my house, Ella. I am the dishwasher, and I hate washing dishes.
The more you say that, it hurts me because you keep programming.
Exactly. So I got to change it, right? I got to make the mental shift. And so one of my friends told me they were like, well, why don't you just think about it like you're hooking your future self up? And I was like, wait a minute, what did you just say? And they were like, yeah, think about it like you're hooking your future self up. So like, you know, the next time you go into the kitchen and you get ready to cook, you're going to have to wash all the dishes in the sink. Well, and that's just going to be aggravating for you then, because now you're pissed. Now you're pissed off that you got to wash the dishes to cook dinner. Well, now I'm not even going to cook dinner. I'm just going to order something, right? And it snowballs into this. Well, I hate washing the dishes so much that I'm going to order $25 worth of takeout tonight instead of go. So hook yourself up and just do it. Do it now. It takes 5 minutes, man. Just go knock it out. And then later on, whenever you get ready to go cook dinner, you're happy about having clean dishes. You can. It reinforces that you're hooking your future self up. You're making yourself happy. Thank you, James, for doing James a favor, right?
We break through frustration with inspiration.
And be inspired. What's your muse?
I love that post that you did because it just reminds me of hugging my old self for changing and then coming from my future self and grabbing and bear hugging both of them for changing and transforming.
Right. Set yourself up for success.
You will feel it. But it's all a habit from our emotions. It starts with an emotion. And you can program this. We'll get into that. But you really need to know how long an emotion is supposed to last to begin with.
Yeah.
If an emotion lasts for over 2 minutes, 20 seconds to 2 minutes, right? You're just feeding off of it because you like the chemical responses.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
It's to stay in the cycle.
I want to keep feeling. Yep. Yeah.
I can personally get out of anger or fear or frustration in under 5 seconds. In probably under 3. And the only time I have any kind of complications is if I'm dealing with another individual that is feeding off of their own frustration.
Keep pulling that negativity out of you.
Just, well, not out of me, but they keep on trying to feed on that. And you are an empath. You're going to feel what we feel. We're going to feel together.
And as soon as you let that person bring you back to that...
Have your power.
Yeah. Absolutely, you lose your power unless this emotion that you're experiencing, this feeling that you're experiencing and you want to keep experiencing all the time is actual joy, then it's perfectly fine to be in that emotion most of the time. I mean,
we're all enjoying. Joy is the same like duality of anger. It's all the same thing, but
it's love and hate, right?
But really, it all comes down to bottling up everything, our emotions, in order to feel something, because we fear we're never going to find love, so we won't let go of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's this aspect of being threatened with Alzheimer's, with forgetting everything.
The loss of what you have.
Forgetting everything one day. One day you're going to forget everything you know, and you better hold on to it now. But the elliptical of thought is dictated that will never happen.
It's a scary idea, though. I mean, it's just like losing any sense, you know? Like the thought of losing your vision, or the thought of losing your hearing, or the thought of not being able to touch or feel
and
or
then go back
talk.
into it. And then give it again.
To lose
and
that.
And fear it again.
Right.
It just snowballs.
The fear of losing, the fear of the life half lived, the fear of loss of something that you've got makes you claw after any little shred of that one thing.
Any feeling at all, it doesn't matter what it is.
And then you choke it.
Any emotion that sparks movement in you now becomes what fuels the fire of desire.
Mm-hmm. Well, shit.
It's only natural to hold on to hatred, thinking we won't ever find love again. But you are love. Absolutely. You don't just have a life.
You don't have love to give, and
life.
It's not just getting love and give. You are exactly. You exist as these things. You just need to be cool with it.
Embody, embrace, and utilize in the correct ways that aren't abusive.
Yeah.
Self-abuse is where it all ends up. As you're taking it out on somebody else, are they going to really do anything but leave the situation?
And is it going to change it?
Is that serving you? Is that serving them? Does it serve anyone?
Or is it just reinforcing
just
that idea of, making it more explosive the next time you come across it? Yeah. I think basically what we're saying is just chill the fuck out and be happy. This has been a fun topic to dig into. It is a lot of what am I doing to myself that you have to stop and think about. And sometimes those are really hard pills to swallow. Of what are you doing to yourself? What are you doing that is dictating this situation that you either like or don't like? And you can't be egotistical about when you're doing it the right way. You know what I mean? You can't be, I'm the rightest. Like this is the only way to do it because it's the way I'm doing it, and I'm the rightest, right? That doesn't help either. That just feeds your own negativity. Be genuine in your actions. Be genuine about your thoughts and about just wanting to improve and make yourself better. Put yourself in a better place. You can do it. Just don't do it out of spite. Don't do it out of anger. Don't do it for a negative reason.
To let go. The photographic memory won't ever let you forget anything.
Oh, I have a very vivid photographic memory. When I see something, I can see it. Like, I can still see it. You know what I mean? And that's...
But recollection on demand has a couple different sides of it. You're going to really want to revisit information 9 to 11 days or times in a row until you can repeat it as if it is your own.
And then even still, your brain is strong enough that, well, you get to think about your perspective on these things because it's the way you received it. It's not about what was sent. It was about what was received. Exactly. Right. And the way you
can shorten
what's going
that
on.
Reaction time too with what you just said and shorten that 9 to 11 days to 5 because you create it into a subconscious program to go after information with the veracity of a badger, whatever you want.
I try to...
A honey badger, right?
I try to think about whenever I have confrontation with people because I'm a puzzle solver and confrontation with someone is just another puzzle for me that I like to try to figure out what's the thing that happened. Like, why did this get all shitty and sideways? And sometimes I don't have the answer, and that's okay. But I still try to put myself in the other person's shoes. Like, how was I coming at them? Like, how were they maybe receiving me? And back out to another perspective of the conversation or what were they going through at the time we were talking about this thing? Why did they react that way? And why did I react the way I was doing? And I do this, and sometimes, I used to do it unconsciously, and it led to anxiety. Is what it did. Okay, so trying to look at a situation and dissect what was going on in that situation to try to find a positive resolve in it. It can lead to anxiety if you're not really focused on trying to, I don't know, maybe uncover the root of what was going on and then have a focus to improve that situation in some ways. That's what helps me not get anxious about it whenever I think about a confrontation necessarily between my coworkers or something like that. Well, I don't go to work anxious the next day thinking that person's going to be holding this grudge. I try to shift my perspective on the situation that went down and see if we can find a good resolve. And it doesn't make me anxious anymore.
Most of the time I'd say it's the boiling pot at its tipping point because they got mad in the morning and created their day to keep doing this, and not even knowingly, even if it's an amazing day, that is the trigger that's not normal, that's out of comfort. It's too happy. It's a Ricky Bobby's dad mentality about the whole thing.
What?
Ricky Bobby's dad at the Olive Garden.
At the Applebee's, I think you put the onions on the steak on purpose. Yeah.
I think you did put those on the steak on purpose.
And that's probably not what happened,
Right. And they're just trying to, well, it's an addiction to that habit of needing fear, anxiety, and stressors and always scanning the area for something for attack. As soon as it comes, that's what I'm going to focus on. Tonight, I'm not going to tell my wife or partner 70% of the day, but I'll sure focus and reiterate in full detail the hiccups that made me so upset.
Yeah, that absolutely, man. Yeah, it's important to have someone to be able to talk to about these stressors in a day, to vent with in a day. That's absolutely important. But I think it's the manner and you go about venting these things. Are you doing it just to bitch? Are you doing it just so somebody can hear you bitch about how your day went? Or are you doing it because these are things that actually concerned you with your day and you want to try to improve on them? Because if you're just sitting around and having a bitch fest about it, I mean, that's cathartic at best. You know,
entertaining.
It's entertainment, yeah, sure, and like everybody's gonna get a chuckle about talking shit about this thing. Sure, you're feeding that wolf, but try to solve the problem. Damn it! Instead of just accepting that this thing's probably gonna happen tomorrow and I'm gonna have to deal with this bullshit again. No, focus some of this energy right now about being so pissed off about what's going on and all of this energy you're putting into brooding negativity into the next day, and try to find a way to disengage it or
find a way to drop it,
de-escalate
let it go, or your way through it. Nothing matters. Everything is entertainment.
How do you fucking fix it? Not how do you keep it broken.
To be enjoyed. That's what the real work we're doing. How are you going to be remembered? How are you going to be etched in time?
They bitched about everything all the time.
The threat of the life
you couldn't shake that dude.
Keeps us in this aspect of I have to either be a mass murderer, a mass shooter, to get the attention, to be remembered and etched in time.
Yeah.
Or, and I'm never gonna get it. I'll never be. Now let's take it out on everyone else and keep them from achieving.
Yeah. If I can't have it, you can't have it.
Right.
Well, we're in about the last couple of minutes of the show here, Gilla. And I've really enjoyed going through this. I know there's still a ton of material over there.
But that's fine,
yeah.
That's more stuff to go into.
Well, one of the things that you showed me on the notes earlier was that was how much information we can process and actually how much of it we can really process.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And
the book Flow. What is his name? The Hungarian biologist Czech Mihaly.
Okay.
Writes about in this book Flow. He writes about how we are consuming 2 million bits of information per second that are forced upon us. Now, you're only able to organize and utilize 134 bits per second. Now, the analogy that found me was used with toothpicks, but I like to look at it with strike anywhere matches.
Okay.
Picture this 2 million strike anywhere matches being forced into your left hand. Now, every single second, you've got to organize these 134 that you can grab a hold of and put it into your right hand. To go over here and grab 134 more out of 2 million every single second on top of itself. Eventually, with a negative attitude, you're looking at an explosion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm interested to touch on that, man. That's going to be good stuff to talk about. But we do have to wrap it up. Please send us an email at manufacturedrealityshow@gmail, or hit us up on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, any of those places. Send us your thoughts maybe on some of the topics that we've touched on so far and some of the things that we're going to check out.
Yeah, we can definitely keep talking in the comments of the show.
For sure. Come down to Twisted Apes in Colorado Springs and check out all the cool events that are coming up. And you guys stay tuned.
Stick around for Man-Tools.
Man-Tools is up in the next 30 minutes. mantoolsmedia.com. You can go check out their Patreon. You can check out their YouTube. They got a Facebook page too. Go give those guys a like. They're our bros. And one of the main reasons that we're able to do this broadcast here. We hope that we brought you something beautiful to think about today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Have a beautiful week. Good night.